There has been scrutiny, and I am all about scrutinizing government spending at any level. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But when it goes to a point where you start questioning the integrity of ESA families, all because, in my opinion, you're looking to damage the ESA popularity, I think it crosses a line. One of the biggest advocates for school choice in the entire country and an expert is Dr. Corey DeAngelis, and he joins us now. Corey, did I guess, summarize ESAs right to begin with there?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me, Mike.
Oh, let me get to the numbers with you, because there has been a discrepancy in the reporting about misspending, whether it's a mistake or it is fraud in the ESA program, specifically in Arizona. And I know you have kind of dug into this. Can you talk to me about what the numbers tell you, what you looked at, and what you found?
Yeah, absolutely. 12 News seems to be hell-bent on doubling down on fake news over the past few weeks, where they're quadrupling down on this number of 20% fraud based on a risk-based audit, which is a non-random sample. It's flagged accounts. And we tried to tell the reporter this over and over again before the Arizona Department of Education official study came out, showing 1.9% unallowable expenses and only 0.3% egregious or fraudulent expenses. Now, Craig Harris was just on your show from 12 News, and he even went further and said that they hid a certain sample of 2,000 because it didn't show what they want. But that is ridiculous, because their smaller sample of 2,000, if anything, found better results, Mike. It actually found 1.5% unallowable expenditures and only 0.13% egregious or fraudulent. So I don't know where in the heck 12 News and Craig Harris are getting these narratives from, but it's totally ridiculous, and it's a much lower rate of fraud than any other government program that I've seen in Arizona. You look at things like unemployment, food stamps, those are about 10%, whereas the ESAs, we're talking either 0.13% or 0.3%. This is minuscule. Of course, we want to get it to zero, but these same people attacking the ESA school choice program, they're all fine and dandy with food stamps and spending more money on unemployment benefits. It seems to be like they have a political agenda here as opposed to looking at the facts.
So can you explain to the people out there, because the taxpayers that are watching this and saying, we just want to know accurately, is the money being spent well or is it not being spent well? Can you explain how you looked at those numbers? What numbers did you look at, and what gives you confidence in your conclusion based on how you did your study?
Yeah, if you take a non-random sample like a high-risk audit, I mean, those are obviously going to be higher rates of fraud. These are flagged for a reason, right? And so 12 News was totally irresponsible for keeping this article up, claiming 20% egregious or fraudulent purchases or misspending. That's just totally out of line. We should all demand a retraction from them. It is beyond the pale, and it amounts to journalistic malpractice at this point, and they know that this is false at this point, so they need to take it down. But it's tantamount to saying that, imagine we had 20% of people who were arrested found guilty of a felony. Based on Craig Harris's logic, he would apply that number and say that 20% of all Americans are felons. Of course, that would be absolutely ridiculous to say. You can't extrapolate from a non-random sample to the entire population. And that's exactly what he did with this risk-based audit. Whereas the random sample, and there is evidence to suggest it was indeed random. If you look at the overall spending in ESAs, you can find their quarterly reports. About 13% of that is called marketplace transactions. And if you go into their random sample, you can see this. About 13% of the random sample is also marketplace transactions, which gives us strong evidence to suggest that this was indeed a random sample, just like the Arizona Department of Education told us. One last thing on this. Craig Harris is now questioning the ADE data and saying, oh, no, it can't be random. It must be flawed. It's not showing what I wanted to say. It's tearing apart my narrative. But he didn't say that when he got the same data from them from the risk-based audit. He took that 20% number as gospel, didn't question it, apparently doesn't have the methods, chops, or statistics background to figure out what a risk-based audit is. But then he went and applied that irresponsibly to the entire population of all ESA parents in Arizona. So just to set the record straight, ADE found 0.3% egregious spending. That is extremely low compared to other government programs, which are closer to about 10% misspending. And you have these same people who support those other programs, all of a sudden they're fiscal hawks and they're all freaking out about the school choice program. Maybe, Mike, maybe, just maybe, it's because they're in bed with the teachers unions and they support the government school monopoly status quo, and they don't want parents to have choice, and they're using any argument they can against it, even if it's not based in reality.
And so, and to be fair, what I want to make sure that we get the information to the parents that, and in what they need to know about this, because you look at the ESA or the voucher programs or school choice across the country. I know you've been doing this for a long time. Arizona's ESA program, as it stacks up to other places in the country, is the first question. How does Arizona stack up to other states? And secondly, what do you think needs to happen in Arizona so that they are able to get this closer to zero? What needs to happen so that they can verify these expenditures before the checks are written, and they can, instead of clawing money back, they can make sure it is the right expenditures ahead of time?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest school choice programs in the country as a percentage of the total school age population. Florida has about 600,000 kids on scholarships, but Florida is also a much bigger state. So Arizona's it's the envy of the world when it comes to the money following the child and allowing for families to maximize the educational opportunities for their kids. And when in terms of getting that number as close to zero as possible, of course, we want to make sure that we're trying to do that every step of the way. It seems that these marketplace transactions are the higher risk transactions that go through Amazon and otherwise. And so you can target those. And so we know where the misspending is. That makes it easier for us to get the number from 0.3% even closer to 0%. Right. So it's good that we have information on this. And I think Kim Yee, a treasurer, has also been calling for reconsidering Class Wallet and maybe having a different vendor handle these transactions as well, which could get the fraud rate even lower. But at the end of the day, we're talking pennies compared to the billion-dollar program that this is. This is a very small percentage, and everybody needs to demand 12 News to stop the fake news, pull down that 20% figure, which has no basis in reality. It's just, I've never seen anything like it, Mike. I've been doing this for about a decade, correcting journalists on the issue of education spending and other topics in education policy. And I've gotten Washington Post to correct things even before they took a turn towards free markets recently, and many other prestigious outlets as well. And they usually do the right thing, and they put a footnote or something. And but 12 News has quadrupled down. I just can't understand why. Craig Harris blocked me when I told him his claim that the 2000 sample had worse results when in fact it had better results showing less fraud. He blocked me when I pointed that out on his X account. And I guess they just can't handle the facts. It's just crazy to me. It's so obvious that they got this one wrong. And it's okay to be wrong sometimes. If you're not a trained statistician or an economist, it's okay to not know what a random sample is. It is okay to not know that risk-based auditing is not representative of the population. But what's not okay is to continue down this path once you're presented with the facts over and over again.
Corey, I appreciate the time this morning. I appreciate the expertise, and thank you for kind of clarifying your point of view and how you got to your numbers in this. It was a much better explanation than I was able to give, so thanks again.
Thanks so much, Mike. It's great talking to you as always.
All right, that is Dr. Corey DeAngelis spending a few moments with us. Important for me to note here, I just want you to have the right information. I want you to understand what is going on, and I want you to be able to know that your tax dollars are being used wisely. I also want you to know that the vast majority of ESA parents are just like you. You want your child to have a quality education, and so I just want those parents, the ones that have been honestly doing the best for their children, to not be caught up in some kind of a football of a conversation. So we got some of the answers we were looking for. We appreciate it. Coming up in a moment.